Hey.
We are live. What is up,
Hey.
San Antonio Spurs fans? What is up, Atlanta Hawks fans?
What's
Welcome
going on, man?
to the stream. TSR Sports in the Dixon Way. What's up, my man?
Woohoo! What's going on, brother? My name is Larry. That's my man Rich from TSR Sports. We are here to talk about the upcoming draft and possible trade rumors for our beloved teams. Let's go, Hawks.
Let's go, Spurs. And we're going to actually, because of the history between these two teams, we're going to have to visit the past.
Yes.
But before we talk about our teams, it would be appropriate for us to talk about ourselves. So we're going to talk about our channel a little bit, how we became a fan of the respective teams we're talking about tonight, and what made you a fan. So Larry, go ahead and start us off.
All right, man. My name is Larry. One half of the Dixon Way. My beautiful wife Shonda is the other half, and we provide you guys with live commentary for all our favorite sports teams. So that's the Braves, the Hawks, the Falcons. I got the hats to prove it. The Braves, the Hawks, the Falcons, the Bulldogs. Go Dogs. Georgia Bear right here. He wears no pants because it's big bear energy. Okay. Shout out to Marcelo Zuna also on the Braves. But yeah, that's what we do. And we started this about 2 years ago. And we're here now. Just trying to grow one subscriber and follower at a time. We're live on 5 different platforms right now: YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Rumble, and X or Twitter, whichever one you want to call it. But we are happy to be here with you, Rich.
So a little about myself, and Larry, you probably don't know this unless you have watched every live stream ever and caught it randomly mentioned. I have been on YouTube since late 2006.
Oh, wow.
It took me 13 years to get monetized with this channel. And I was one of those folks that was just didn't know what he was doing, had 16 subscribers for like a decade, canceled the channel I was doing. Eventually, I'm going to do a video about how all this went down. Did a movie review channel briefly, and when I was doing the movie review channel, I came across the Entertainer Talking Sports, who's primarily a New York Giants channel.
All right.
And I saw him doing the sports stuff, and he's like, you could probably do this if you wanted. So I started doing the NBA playoffs in 2019. The last time I would call the Spurs in the playoffs, by the way. The only time for that record. They've been a losing team since, but it's been a fun ride. My girlfriend will be joining me for the NBA draft, making her on-camera debut. So to be able to share it with somebody like you are is absolutely awesome. Now I became a Spurs fan. Everybody in my chat probably knows this, but your Hawks chat, this man right here, discovered Robinson halfway through his rookie season in 1990. Been a Spurs fan since.
All right.
Giants, Yankees, and Spurs.
All right. I got you. So, being an avid Spurs fan, me being an avid Hawks fan, we have a lot of history between our teams recently. Hell, we got a lot of history back in the day. Y'all had Dominique.
We did.
Dominique, you got that guy right behind you, Tim Duncan, because he just could. And a lot of people forget Dominique averaged like what 27.5 that season.
Oh, but the Spurs,
no,
like 18.
Oh, 18. My bad. Yeah,
he was way on the.
That's right. Hawks, he's on the decline that year.
He was on the decline. When he went with you guys, he was the human highlight. Was it film?
Yeah. My bad.
He was a great player.
By
the time he was at the Spurs, though, not so much. So you mentioned some history. You went past history with Dominique Wilkins, which I didn't think you would do, but that's a good callback. But the recent history is the big one right here. We're going to revisit the 2022 Dejounte Murray trade and give our thoughts and grade it. But before we do that, Larry, I think we have to talk about what exactly was traded. The Spurs traded Dejounte Murray.
Yes.
That's it. The Hawks traded their 2025 and 2027 first-round picks unprotected.
Yes.
A pick swap in 2026.
Yes.
They traded the 2023 first-round pick from Charlotte, and Charlotte has sucked, so that is not conveyed as yet. I believe next year is the last year, and then it rolls over to two second rounds. And I forgot about this. Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah, I was about to say Gallo was a part of that deal too. And the funny thing is, he's been hurt, so it really didn't matter. You guys just released him. You know what I'm saying?
I think it was like salary cap thing more than anything.
Yeah. It was a salary dump type of thing. But yeah, man. I really like Dejounte as a person and as a player. I don't know if him and Trey Young really fit. And I think the real problem was is that what I know now is my owner likes the metal. I don't think that was Travis Slink's ideal to give up that much for Dejounte Murray. That's why he's not here anymore. They say he'll take an advisory role. No, he quit. That was pretty much the last straw. He tried. Well, basically, he said okay, because several months prior to, he moved out of the GM role into the president role, so he ascended. But word on the street is that Nick Wrestler, Tony Wrestler's son, has been entrenched into the front office for some reason. Don't ask me why, but we got mailing owners, and his son is cool with Landry, who was just recently promoted to GM. Word on the street is they went behind Travis Slink back, who was trying to negotiate the deal also, since it was going to be a big move, but he didn't want to give up that much draft capital for DeJounte. They liked the player, but the fit was always questionable. And it basically was like, hey, it was the first time Trey said, man, I need some help. The first time he ever uttered that, you know what I'm saying? So they went out and tried to make a splash. They said, the heck with those picks. But Nate McMillan's gone. Now we have Quinn Snyder. And in Quinn Snyder's system, he has not figured out how to use DeJounte and Trey Young correctly. And that's where we're at right now. You have a lot of fan base that want DeJounte gone, like yesterday. Me personally, I'm more a reasonable thinker. I'll say, okay, I think both of those guys are ball dominant guards, that they're most productive in the pick and roll situation. Both can't really play off the ball, at least for what DeJounte showed. I know Trey can't. In spurts, he can, uh, but it would take a good system. I'm not really a believer of Quinn's system, but we really don't have to get into that. Uh, if we move DeJounte, it will have to be,
which we'll talk about in a moment.
yeah, it would have to be something that I'm sure Trey's going to be a part of that, or at the very least, they're going to call him, hey, we're doing this move. What do you think? Or would you just rather play with, DeJounte again? And then we'll refigure that. But yeah, I think everything depends on the draft, because we can't even make any moves unless it's going to be like, hey, we make a move. It won't be consummated until,
Good word.
when it can be. But yeah, I'm of the sense if we can, I just want them to do whatever. I would rather keep Trey, but if they can get a big haul for Trey Young, then I wouldn't be opposed of it. I would rather build around Trey Young than DeJounte.
So how would
I
you
always say
grade it?
this: you guys don't give up franchise players.
No.
You develop them. Exactly. You develop them. So if the Spurs, while they love DeJounte, was like, hey, we can't turn down this haul, that should tell Hawks fans. We got a lot of Hawks fans that love DeJounte. He's made a lot of fans here. So, and I really like DeJounte too. But if I have to put on my GM hat, then the GM hat would say build around Trey Young. It's your fastest avenue to try to get better, unless you want to rebuild.
Let me ask you two
But yeah,
questions.
go ahead,
Final
sir.
grade for the Spurs and Hawks in 2024, but also, is it possible Brian Wright, who gets criticized a lot as a GM of the Spurs, did he look in his magic ball, his crystal ball, and see that Victor Wembanyama was going to be available in the following draft after the season they traded DeJounte and said, you know what, we're going full tank mode. The Hawks want DeJounte. They're going to give us a boatload for him. Let's trade him. Let's suck, and we'll have a chance to get Wemby.
Yes, I think he actually had the foresight to be scouting. I heard you guys scouted him like at least 5 times. That your GM. I think Pop went over there a couple of times to actually look at Victor. Um,
There's a Tony Parker connection as well.
yeah, exactly. So you guys already had the foresight. Um, I don't know if we did. And you just said it's not really San Antonio's, thing to outright tank, but it was apparent you guys did when you got rid of Dejounte. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? So yeah, you guys had the foresight to do it, and you got Wemby. Plus, you got all these draft picks to try to build up and do it the Thunder way, but speed
Yes.
it up. You know, do it the Thunder way, but speed it up. Wemby's a fantastic player, definitely a franchise player, and that's why you guys are looking to accelerate your rebuild. That's why you're looking, because if you don't get a guy like that and you just say, okay, we're going to wait 4 years before we even make a move. No, you
We
don't.
can't
So,
with his size either, Larry. He's not one of those players that's going to play 16 to 20 years. He's probably going to have sorry, Spurs fans, a 12-year peak window, maybe 15. I think that's it.
I don't know, man. I kind of view him like Kareem on how he keeps his body. He's trained like a guard,
Is
uh, throughout his whole life. Is he going to be able to handle the rigors of the NBA? The NBA isn't like what it was when we were growing up. You know what I'm saying? It's not a physical game anymore. It's more finesse.
this
The
true?
referees protect the star players, and yeah. Oh yeah. Also, guys, everyone in the chat, thank you guys on everyone's chat. We're not ignoring you or anything, but we're going to be a topic based, and then we're going to run down as many questions that we can. You know. So thank everybody for coming in from every chat. Thank you very much. We really
We'll have a
appreciate
Q&A
that.
at the end. It's just with
Yeah.
both of us talking, both of us dual streaming. He sees his chat, I see mine. It's going to be impossible to try to answer everything, so please be patient with us. I need your final grade, though. I don't know if you're avoiding doing this.
Oh man. I'm gonna be honest, man. The trade was really bad only because of the assets we got. Well, we gave up. Even if we wanted to, just turn the page with Trey Young, we're unable to. You know, I feel like this was a massive plan to get Trey. Personally, that's how I feel.
Wow.
Not just tanking for Wemby, but if we end up, the only way we can really trade Trey Young is trade him to you guys to get our picks back,
Which we'll
plus
talk about.
something, plus more. Not just that, but I mean, if you get Trey and have Trey and Wemby, you literally got your Parker and Duncan already. Just build around, man. If I see Luca and freaking Kyrie just take over the West like that with only a year's worth of playing with each other, man. But no, that's never gonna happen because we ain't trade them to you guys. It's the grade is the grade's a C, man. It's a C.
See for the
I'm not
Hawks.
I'm not gonna. Some people say a F because they just don't like the fit. I will say we would have been a lot worse if DeJounte didn't do what he did when Trey Young went down. If I didn't see what DeJounte could do without Trey, I might have just said like a D or something like that. Because they don't mesh right now. And I don't know if we had the coach to put it together. You know what I'm saying? He's not as good as Jason Kidd, who could figure out two ball dominant guards and how to make it work. So I'm gonna say C minus. And that's not saying that DeJounte is bad. It's just so many assets that we gave up, and it kind of crippled what we can move forward. We don't even have assets to like. It's a blessing we got the number one pick. If
Yeah.
we didn't get the number one pick, I don't know what we'll be doing. So I'll say C minus, and that's nothing against DeJounte. It's just right now we have two ball dominant guards, and the real funny thing is Trey Young and Bogdan Bogdanovic. You wouldn't think that's a good duo for defense, but on the court, they're better. Like basically, when Trey is with Bogey, that's a better defensive team. I don't ask me why, or with Bogey with DJ. But when Trey and DJ play on the court, it's just I don't know, man.
I
I
know.
just don't know.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grade it for you.
All right.
I'm going to keep it real. This
Well,
is an
for
A for
you
the
guys'
Spurs.
side, it should be an A plus.
This is an A. This is an F for the Hawks. And here's the reason I say
Okay.
Dejounte Murray was the best player on a bad team. And I hate to say it, but we're a bad team, but he was our point guard.
Yeah.
And now you're taking him out of that position and trying to put him in the shooting guard position. And he's played well in Atlanta, but
Yes.
that's not his natural position.
I
He should
agree
be
with
running
you.
the offense, and now you've got two guys that should be running the offense that are. I haven't watched enough Atlanta. I assume the offense is more going through Trey than Dejounte when they're both on the court.
Yes.
But that's
Yes.
going to create a player that's been playing the game a one way his whole life, and now is playing it differently in the last 2 years. And I think that's where you're having so many issues in Atlanta because you guys have a lot of talent. On paper, your team should be a playoff team every year, but they're just not. And I don't know why Atlanta gave up so much. Well, you kind of touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
I like
That's what's.
Dejounte Murray. He's not worth what was given up. I think if it was a first round pick from 25, a pick swap plus the Charlotte pick, and Danilo find that extra first round pick though, and no protection. That was the shocking thing. If you had them both top six
Yeah.
protected, maybe it makes a little more sense, or top eight, whatever it may be, some sort of lottery protection. But the fact they were completely unprotected is probably the most shocking part of the trade for me.
Yes.
Now, luckily for Hawks fans, you guys got the number one overall pick this year, not next year, because Spurs fans would be going nuts if we had the number one overall pick next year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I look at it. I look at it as a player more so than anything because we traded for the player, and the player has not been bad, but the fit is bad. So I don't want to give DeJounte a F because
It's
he's
not
actually
Dejounte's
been
not getting
good
an
here.
F. Your
The trade,
management. We're grading your
okay, our
management.
management, okay, our owner, our management, yeah, I'll give them an F. I would definitely give Landry Fields, and I'll definitely give Nick Wrestler, Tony Wrestler, whoever approved that and went back door to undercut Travis Slink, a well-respected, GM slash president in the NBA, came from the Spurs. So, oh yeah, we found some other stuff out too that I really don't want to get into. But yeah, our owner is a meddler and hashtag Shaq, please buy the Hawks. Yeah. So yeah, I mean the grade, our front office. This is the most important off season in probably 30 years for the Atlanta Hawks, to be honest.
Maybe for us
Because
too,
yeah,
because we're trying to build around our new franchise with 2 lottery picks.
yeah.
Which segues us to the state of both
Hey,
our teams. Let's start off with the Spurs. I'm going to lead this one off. Being a Spurs fan, it only makes sense if you don't mind me saying.
no problem. Go ahead.
So are the Spurs and Hawks kind of remind me of some similarities where they have a team that's a playoff team and they have to decide how they're going to move forward. And the Spurs had to make the decision a few years back. They lost Kawhi Leonard in the trade to Toronto and got DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl and some picks, et cetera, et cetera. In the first year of DeRozan's career with San Antonio, they were a playoff team.
Yes.
The next season, we bring all the vets back: LaMarcus Aldridge, DeRozan, Rudy Gay, Patty Mills. But we had the young guys in: Dejounte Murray, Derek White, Lonnie Walker, et cetera, et cetera. So we had some vets, we had some young talent, and the team sucked in 2020.
Yes.
However, the season ended prematurely, and we know why. And we had the bubble. And the Spurs
Yes.
were 5-2 in the bubble, and kind of gave management and Spurs fans a mirage. Like, hey, wait a minute, maybe this team is actually better than we think. Nope, sucked next year too. Eventually parted ways from DeMar DeRozan, then Derek White, then eventually Dejounte Murray, and went full rebuild and went 22-16 2 seasons ago, and then got Wemby and matched that record. But the future, I think, looks bright for the team because they now have a direction. Build around Victor Wembanyama. There's
Yes.
tons of draft capital with this team. Some of it's Atlanta's, of course. We have our pick next year, your pick,
Mhm.
the Bulls pick, which I think is top 8 or 10 protected, and I think next year is the last year of that Charlotte pick. So, in theory, the Spurs could have 4 lottery picks next year. Probably not happening.
No,
But they
no,
have a
no.
load of, no, probably definitely not, a load of draft capital, and a lot of their success could hinge on what the Atlanta Hawks do. Because if the Hawks blow it up and don't get their draft picks back, then those draft picks are worth a ton for the Spurs. So that the
Yes.
Hawks are in a tough spot, which we'll talk about in a moment. But your thoughts on the status of my team right now?
I think you guys are sitting pretty. You got a lot of draft capital. Like I said earlier, You guys are accelerated version of the Thunder. You know, now they got lucky in getting Shea Gilders. Well, not lucky. They scouted and was like, hey, this guy's going to be really good. You can have Paul George. We're going to go full rebuild. But it took them a lot longer. They had the guy they're going to build around, but they doubled down. Two Williams brothers the same year. Doubled down, got Vic Krejci and Josh Giddey. Let go of Vic Krejci, kept Giddey. Now they got to decide if they're going to pay him or let him go now.
I think he's gone.
But with all those draft picks, they can also go out and get another guy. And then that's the exact same thing that the Spurs can do. The Spurs got a lot of capital to go and make major moves. And there are a lot of guys that are, in their last season or next year, they're going to be, unrestricted free agents. So you guys are sitting pretty, you know what I'm saying, to be honest. If you want to go to get Laurie Marketing, you know what I'm saying? If you want to go get Spider Mitchell, you can actually do it.
Darius
If you want
Garland's
to try to get Dejounte back, you could actually do it. If you try to go get Trey Young, you actually have the draft capital to do it. So right now you have a once in a lifetime generational player in Victor Wembanyama, and you have all the assets to instantly make them a contender, even in the West. So yeah, you guys are sitting pretty.
So
and Victor doing all that on minute restriction. Wait until they take their handcuffs off this kid. Oh my goodness.
When he figures it out in the NBA and puts some size on and has an actual point guard the whole year, and Trey Jones is fine, but he's not an all-star. And most of you probably heard of Julian Champagnie if you're not a Spurs fan.
I like that Champagnie kid. He can shoot, but I wouldn't make him a point guard. I wouldn't make him a point guard.
No. Champagnie, he's a wing for us, but he's not a starter. So you mentioned the Spurs are in a good place. A team that I don't think is in a good place right now is the Hawks. I'll let you start this off as you are a fan of the team. What do you think of the state of the Hawks right now at this moment?
I think the whole fortunes of the Hawks changed when they got the number one pick. Without the number one pick, I would have been worried. Getting the number one pick, even in the weakest draft in probably 25 years.
Oh, it's not that bad.
I don't like when people say that either, because the good thing about it, the best players are actually needs of the Hawks. The best players in the draft are needs for the Hawks.
Can I interject something real quick? I think what's happening is you had Wemby last year, who was clearly a franchise player.
Yes.
And now you have a draft following that doesn't have that, and everybody's really poo-pooing on this draft because of that. I think there's really good players that could help both our teams.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of good, solid players on this team. In this draft. A lot of their biggest potential is probably like the number 2 on the championship team. A lot of number 3s, but that's not poo-pooing on it. That's just saying there's no clear cut, hey, this guy can be your franchise starter. He can be the guy that you build around. I really like where the Hawks are, because with the number one pick, they could do several things. They could draft the guy who they need. They can draft a guy that's, potential wise and Ricochet. They need Sar, because they need a dominant big who's a true rim protector. And being with Trey Young, he's gonna get baby food. He's gonna get served plenty of lobs. Trey loves that. Like, that's his favorite thing, throwing a lob. Like, you see Trey Young throw a lob, he jumps up with it. Like, he'll throw a no-look lob and hop up with it when you're supposed to catch it. It's just like, okay, man. Yeah, he really loves throwing lobs. So, to me, with either using Dejounte as a trade piece, there's several players they can get. Like, they didn't have the number one pick, and they were slated to get the 10th pick. They don't even have a chance to get Klingon. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have a chance to get him. He's going to be like top 5, top 7.
Yeah, he's
You know
going
what I'm
early.
saying? Yeah, like they'll be looking at maybe Cody Williams, maybe Khalil Ware, maybe Dante out of Oregon. Uh, that's who they're looking at. They got a chance to get the top 2 players in this draft, or flip those guys. There's a lot of rumors with the Hawks being involved with a lot of teams. You guys, uh, either Dejounte or Trey, uh, and us getting one of the picks back, not 25 because nobody's giving up 25. So the swap back, things I heard, the swap back and 27, you know, and move the malcontent. I don't want the malcontent here, uh, Keldon. I don't want him, but
A lot of Spurs fans
I
don't
know
want
you
him either,
guys.
man.
Yeah, exactly, and I know you guys aren't giving up Vassell, so uh, I guess Zach Collins.
You don't want Zach Collins. I'll be honest. You don't want him. Come on, man.
I,
You know,
uh, I'm looking at you guys' roster. I'm just like,
it's pretty weak. All right.
yeah, like Devin Vassell is really the only guy that I really want off of that. But I know you guys want to pair him up with Dejounte, so uh, I would not even take the swap back. I would just take the 27. To be honest, if that meant that I could get Vassell, if we're 2 GMs just talking, you know what I'm saying. If I'm
Which
going
we
to give
are.
up Dejounte, I want a true 2 guard. That's my problem. I don't have a 2 guard.
That would
So
be a good salary swap, by the way. I think they're both
exactly,
slated about 30.
and that's my point. Like, if you guys would be willing to give up Devin Vassell, uh, and just give me the 26, you guys still keep the swap, still keep 25. That's a price of making a dumb trade. Then I might have to get my U-Haul and pack it up. You know what I'm saying, for DeJounte. We get a 2 guard that's actually a 2 guard that can play some defense, and Trey can just be the point guard instead of trying to share point guard duties with another point guard. I think it helps both players,
I don't see that
and DeJounte actually goes back to the system where he grew. Now, you're shaking your head, so what do you think about that?
I don't see the Spurs trading Vassell for DeJounte. If they're going to trade Vassell, it's going to be for Trey Young. But we'll talk about those trades in a second. I want to circle
Okay.
back to the state of your team. I think you're in a worse position now with the first overall pick. Hear me out for a second.
All right, go ahead.
You have 2 directions you can go in.
Okay.
Draft the guy first overall and try to build off what you have right now, or you commit to a rebuild or a partial rebuild. Now, it seems like you're good with getting rid of Dejounte Murray. It sounds like you want to keep Sarr, because I assume Sarr is going to be the first overall pick by the Hawks. That seems to be the general consensus everywhere.
It could be Ricochet also. I mean, our front office actually came out and said they're worried about his offensive skill set. So they all went. They left the combine after watching Sarr, I guess a day or two. All flew to France to watch Ricochet
He did well in the
play.
playoffs.
Yeah. So the entire front office. So there's a good chance we might pick Ricochet, or we could move back depending on what Washington Wizards want to do.
This is such a
So
crazy draft. And I've said
yeah,
this on my channel. If you do mock drafts, the top 4 players seem to change interchangeably. I'm now seeing Castle might go third to the Rockets. And I'm like,
yeah,
what?
I saw
Now
that
he's up in
too.
the top 3 now? So it changes like the weather. We're
Yeah,
not going to know what happens till draft night. That being said, I don't know what I would do if I was a Hawks GM. Do I commit to the rebuild? Is Trey Young the guy? Or would he be better suited in an offense where he plays, the number 2 option in the offense? A lot of Hawks fans have said to me, and even some Spurs fans, the reason Trey Young is such an inefficient scorer, he's a high volume scorer, but he takes a lot of shots and he shoots 43% from the field, 44%. So he's not very efficient. But part of that could be because he is the main scorer on the Hawks. If he was to take
yes,
a
he is.
secondary role, say on the Spurs, where Wemby's number 1, would he be better? I don't know. And that's what's tough with your team is, where do you go now? Do you commit to the rebuild, a partial rebuild? You say, you know what, we're going to roll the dice again with DeJounte, Trey, and draft Alex Sarr and try to build around that. I have no idea which direction you guys are going to go in, which I think that's where things are tough for your team, because your GM's job is to win games and put butts in seats. And if you trade
Yes,
Trey Young, which there's a lot of rumors you guys might, that's going to hurt your attendance
Yeah,
severely, I would think.
yes, it would. It would.
And it's going to also hurt your chance of winning games.
Oh well, it'll do both. There's a lot of people that are Trey Young fans here,
Yeah, it's
more
good to
so
hear.
than Hawks fans. But what I will tell you is, uh, the Hawks. Several rumors about the Hawks trading the number one pick for actual players. There's several moves that the Hawks could do. If you draft Sar, uh, you can move Dejounte. There's talks of us trying to move him to the Pelicans. You
The
know,
Pelicans?
the Pelicans need a point guard in a worse way. They do. So if you get Sar, okay, so here's the general consensus. Most people say get Sar, move DJ for like a BI or a Lori marketing or something like that. Um, see what you got to do, whatever picks you got in the future. Utah, I know Danny Ainge probably pissed off us at us about John Collins, but I mean he really didn't pay much for him. But that is still they're kind of in a bad situation too. You know, like what do they do? Do they try to, build around Lori, or are they going to go in a field rebuild? So there are players out there. I mean, hell, there's rumors about us giving the number one pick to Cleveland, plus other players just to try to get Spider if he don't want to resign.
Wow, really?
Because right now they're do a better job at getting a guy who can be a two than Dejounte. You know what I'm saying? Just go basically. There's rumors about us just trying to be a better version of the Pacers, basically.
So then I would have to think you're going to try to win now with what you got and build off of that because
Yeah,
this is where I said things are tough. You can't really commit to a full rebuild because we have your picks in 25 and 27. You can't build without draft picks. So
exactly.
that's
So
where it's tough. I don't know what direction your team's going in. Quite frankly, I don't know what direction my team's going in with the draft.
I think that the Hawks are going to move DJ.
DJ just
I
thinks the guy's
think
gone.
I think they're gonna move DJ. Either he'll be back in the Spurs uniform or he'll be with the New Orleans Pelicans.
Since we're talking about it, let's talk
Yeah.
about Dejounte Murray trade talk because some Spurs fans seem to want him, at least in my community, are very happy to bring him back. Some are like,
Okay.
screw him. What he said a couple years ago. Here's an interesting thing that some people have pointed out that I didn't really think of. What if the Spurs did trade, probably not the 2025 first round pick? I think that one's because of that draft class not being traded. But what if they traded the pick swap back and the 2027 first round pick from Atlanta? And I don't know, Zach Collins or somebody to help with salaries for DeJounte. Essentially, that means the Spurs traded away DeJounte Murray for 2 years to get Wemby and an extra first round pick.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
You're
It
not going
would
to get back
depend.
what you gave. What you gave.
No,
For
no,
him.
no, 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 no. I already know that. Every Hawks fan know we're not getting the whole deal back. Uh, again, there's some Hawks fans that would definitely ship to get the picks back. They would definitely ship them off. I wouldn't, and I know I wouldn't do it because if I'm Trey Young, you trade away the best player that I played with, even though we play the same position. If you trade away DeJounte and don't replace him with somebody who can at least get me 20 points, you might as well trade me at the deadline. Like, that's what I'm
Is he
saying.
not?
Like,
Is he not happy there though, Larry? Because I see things
no,
that
he's happy there, but
he
he
is.
also said he wants to win. And
Okay.
I'm not mad at him for saying that. My problem is that you have Hawks fans that want to move DeJounte out for fish heads and rice. I'm like, guys, that's why I like the BI trade or trying to get Kuzma. Like, there's another thing saying if we do like a pick swap with Washington, get Kuzma, let them pick whoever they want, and we pick the other guy. You know, now we got Kuzma who can put up 19 any given night. Then we can still use DeJounte to get another piece. Now, and we got Jalen Johnson, who outside of getting hurt, was ascending to be like, most improved or one of the most improved. So when you really look at the Hawks situation, uh, I think they're gonna eye if they eye Brandon Ingram, then they're gonna try to get a Caruso or a Bruce Brown or something like that who can be a two guard to be a defender to put beside Trey Young. You know
The
what I'm
Bulls
saying?
might be cleaning house soon. They might
Yeah,
blow it.
exactly. That's another thing. We have Hawks fans that want to go get Zach Levine, and now we're hearing that the Bulls. When you look at the Bulls, and I have a cousin that's a Bulls fan, so we always talk every day, and he's basically saying like management just want to move it for Fisher and Rice. You know that like literally like if they get anything, like they value the expiring contract so they can get up off of them. They're going full rebuild. They're trying to give Levine away. So the Hawks go ahead and give them something that at least give them some starters. They don't need DeJounte either. So we can
Yep.
always keep DeJounte. Then move DeJounte for said pieces. Now you got Levine. You got probably one of the highest scoring backcourts. They ain't playing no damn defense. But
No, they're not playing any defense.
but but what you're doing now, if you give like, you know, a pick, not the number one pick, but a future pick, now you target her or something like that. You say, okay, you want DeJounte. I know you guys want to move BI, but we got to do something else to be able to get her into that deal. Because you got Trey Murphy you got to pay, Zion. You obviously still building around Zion since he played the most games he has since his rookie season this year. And BI and Zion don't mix. So you're basically trying to, if you could get two former All-Stars and put around Trey, hey, that's going to be the best chance you get. And you put Sar back there as a rookie center who projected to be able to check or guard 2 through 5. I mean, in the East, that's a fifth seed in the East.
Zach
In the
Levine,
East, but I don't like Levine personally.
he's got an injury history, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Oh yeah, I definitely know that.
He's going to average 45 million a year the next 3 years. I just looked it up on Basketball Reference. That's
Yes.
that's your backcourt making what 90 million a year. You're
Yep.
gonna have to start cutting corners other places, and I don't think you want him. It
I
doesn't sound like
own
you
his
want him.
sheet. That would never happen. I own his sheet, so I know it won't happen.
Oh,
I'm just
sheep.
telling you what
Know
are
that
going
feeling.
on in
Small
Hawk
market.
spaces. Oh yeah. I'm telling you what's in Hawk spaces. So there's several things that the Hawks can do, and that's why I said it's the most important all season in the last 30 years for the Atlanta Hawks.
So, if this was to happen,
Yes.
you're playing the role of the GM for the Hawks right now and playing the GM of the Spurs. The Spurs decide they want Dejounte Murray back. We're done with Trey Jones at point guard, Blake Wesley, Jeremy Sohan as point guard. We're like, you know what? DJ knows the system. He plays defense. He's 6'5", so he's a bigger guard. They can guard some of the bigger guards in the Western Conference. Sounds like you'd be fine with shipping him out. Talking to you tonight, what would you realistically want for Dejounte Murray from the San Antonio Spurs?
I mean, we already talked about it. Like, I don't even know if I want the picks back.
But it's like they
because
actually we talked about. We haven't actually given an exact trade. We've kind of given blips.
okay. So if I'm the Hawks, if I'm giving DeJounte back, I'm insisting that Vassell has to be in that deal. I'm
You
also
mentioned that,
shopping
so
him.
you're. I don't see that happening.
Hey, yeah, and I don't see it happening either. Uh, I don't know if they trade DeJounte just for picks. I'm gonna be honest, and just Keldon Johnson, something like that. They're gonna trade Trey Young also, or he's gonna make it be known that you guys need to trade me. You can't bring back Keldon Johnson. You can't bring back uh, Zach Collins. You just can't. You can't tell Trey Young and look him in the eye and say, Alex Sarr and Keldon Johnson or Zach Collins is the only move that we're gonna make.
Yeah.
So the path between the Hawks and Spurs trading would either be Trey Young on a full rebuild to get our picks back plus some incentives, or I don't know how you guys get back DJ with your roster. I
It would have to
really
be
don't see
fixed.
how you get DJ.
It would have to be fixed. You guys, I mean, Kelvin gets mentioned all the time in trade rumors. He every third year in a row. If it's Spurs being traded, it's Kelvin, and I could see where Demisel would fit right next to Trey Young immediately. He not as well. He's supposed to be a 3D player and be a great defender, but that defense is not quite developed as we hoped it would in San Antonio. But he has
Yeah.
shown flashes and flourishes where he can just take over a game in spurts and just hit shots left and right and create his own shot. We've talked about how it's a good salary match. So the Spurs trade Devin Vassell, bring Dejounte Murray back, and now we have a huge gap, a hole in the two, unless we draft somebody. And the draft this year's every player's got some sort of flaw. I think that's why people are crapping on
Yes,
the
yes.
draft so much. Is
Yeah.
Dilly's too short, or the Versace can't create his own shot. There's something to look at each player and say this is a flaw in their game. Stephen Castle can't shoot a three.
Yeah.
So I this has been talked about a lot, and I agree with you. I don't think this is happening because it's just going to be draft capital. I don't think the Spurs are going to trade the picks they got back from you guys for him,
No.
and I don't think you're going to want that in return because now you still have Trey Young, but you have you're building around him with draft picks. So you're waiting another 2, 3, 4 years before those finally hit their. No, I don't
No,
think
that won't happen. That won't happen. If they trade DeJounte, it's going to be for someone either equal scoring ability, but from a different position. They literally can't look at Trey Young in the face and say, "Hey, Trey, we just traded the best player you ever played with, even though you share the same position." Yeah, and Sar is the only upgrade we're going to do this team. Yeah, he's going
it's
to be.
going to
Yeah, get me up out of here.
probably need 2 or
So
3 before he's full on, hitting his stride.
yeah. Like, look, man, you think there's been a lot of chatter on Twitter, man. Like Trey Young dad coming out and saying, "You guys think Luka was going to come here? He was never good. He was going to stay over." I'm like, man, stop. You're embarrassing your son. Don't do that. Okay. So it's just like the Trey Young camp is, they got their rabbit ears on, people, this, that, and the third. Luka's in the finals now.
Let's talk
He's
about it.
feeling that heat. And I don't know if he actually requested to go get DeJounte or not, but I'm sure that they told him, like, hey, we're trying to
It
do this.
seems like they talked beforehand about teaming up and doing
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
They eventually
Yeah.
brought Dejounte over.
Yeah. So when I look at it, Trey Young don't really have that say to be like, hey, go get me this guy now, because it didn't work. And now we're
Yeah.
scrambling, you know. So he don't even have like they want to keep him, but his voice isn't going to be really heard on what move they make. That's why I think Ricochet is really interesting. If the Atlanta Hawks draft Ricochet, then you should be really happy because Trey
If
Young
we could
might
get,
get traded. Trey
or
Young
maybe
might
we
get
get
traded if
Sar
we get
for. Well,
Ricochet.
speaking of Trey Young, who, by
Yeah.
the way, drives me crazy because I've done videos where I accidentally called Trey Young Trey Jones and Trey Jones Trey Young because my mind just got all these Treys up on my head. It's like, oh, just stop. But this is the big one. This is obviously the biggest trade rumor that we've both been dealing with over the past couple months. And then lately it seems like, well, the Spurs really aren't interested, but are they not interested? Or is that just we're playing the we're not interested card to, try to lessen the value of what we're looking for? In teams with the draft, like, we're
Yeah.
not really interested in Alex or Zach Versace. We're in reality, like, oh, please let him fall to us. Please let him fall to us. But we're going to play the hand like, our poker face. We don't want them.
Yeah.
This would be the biggest Spurs trade easily since the Kawhi Leonard trade. And for you guys, I don't know your history well enough. The last big trade I can remember is when I think Dominique was traded to the Clippers ages ago, right? He played like half a season, got traded. Am my timeline right? Can't remember if you guys had a big trade. I couldn't follow hockey, but just like, was he a free agent? I don't remember.
That's a dark day in Atlanta history, man.
Okay, that did happen. All right, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I was.
No. I know you weren't. I know you weren't.
It was a trade then, correct, Larry? He was traded way back. I don't remember
They
what the trade was
traded
for.
him to the Clippers for Danny Manning.
Good Lord. Oh,
for Danny Manning.
Damn. I forgot about
Yo, but the funny thing is, well, the sad thing really, the Atlanta Hawks were the number one team in the East, had beaten all the top seeds. One series against all the top seeds. We went 500 for the rest of the season and lost in the first round. And
that.
Danny Manning walked and went to the Suns.
I did not remember it was that bad. I thought you guys got some draft picks or something. Was it a straight up 1-for-1?
It really don't even matter.
Yeah, it does. I
I
mean, it's so
forget the
far ago. Yeah.
details of it. I just remember that Lenny Wilkins and Stan Casson and Pete Babcock, all those guys were sitting there like, yeah, and they did it because they didn't want to give him a new contract. And look, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, guys, that's how important this draft is, man. Like, these guys got to get it right, or everybody got to get fired.
Listen, you are in a tough
Everyone.
spot with that. Think about where my team is. If the Spurs lose next year, and then in year 3, and then in year 4, if we're not putting some sort of contender around Wemby by then, there's some fear in the Spurs community. He may decide this place ain't for me. You're not trying to win. I'm a tall guy. Tall guys generally don't have long careers. I want to win now, and you're not
Yeah.
putting people around me. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Spurs are going to do right by him and get the right
Yeah, yeah,
pieces. And one of these right pieces could be Trey Young. I talked about earlier in the stream. If he's the number 2 option, if Wemby's Batman and he's the
yeah,
Robin, and they're running pick and rolls together, and yes, Trey Young's a horrible defender. He's one of the worst in the NBA.
yeah.
But Wemby has shown us he can block shots from anywhere in the court. He can help compensate for that huge weakness in Trey Young's game. And if you put other capable defenders around him, they might be able to compensate for that lack of D. So let's talk about this Trey Young trade talk. I have openly said I don't know. I've kind of leaned towards I don't want him simply because he's an inefficient scorer and he brings no defense. And he brings a huge contract. I think he's set to make about $45 million a year the next 3 or 4 years. I forget how long he's under contract. We would have to give up the 25 pick, the 27 pick, the pick swap, and I've read on NBA expert sites probably another first rounder. So it would be 4 to 5 first rounders for Trey Young.
Yeah, that's about right.
Sounds about right, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a huge risk to build through the draft. It's a massive risk. You don't know if guys are going to be great or bust. We see it all the time. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, the greatest quarterback of all time. Jamarcus Russell, first overall pick, making donuts somewhere. I mean, you don't know.
No, you don't. You don't.
But I'm a more traditional, old school type of fan, where my favorite players on the Spurs have all been drafted. You can't see them up there. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker up there, which were surprise home runs, but they were home runs. And Robinson, Duncan, and Wemby all draft picks.
Yes, they were.
If we were to trade so much draft capital for Trey Young and then it doesn't work, where do we go from now? And you could play the other side and say, well, TSR, what if they trade for Trey Young and then this is the best 1-2 punch in the NBA? I could happen too. I don't know. You think so?
I know so.
I mean, I only see the Hawks twice a year.
It would be disgusting.
You mentioned
lob
threat. Wemby's the best lob threat in the NBA right now at his height.
Let me explain Trey Young's efficiency woes. Let's go through the roster. DeAndre Hunter, number 4 pick in the Zion draft. A guy. Cam Reddish ain't even on the team no more. He's barely in the NBA. Last time I saw he was on the Lakers. Every team that gets him thinks, hey, we need a 3 that can play D and shoot a 3. But he can't play defense but so much. And his 3-point shot is horrible. That was a part of the Luka trade. Not only getting Trey Young, but getting a top 10 pick and turning that into another starter. That's what Travis Slink, because he was infatuated with Cam Reddish. We also facilitated a trade to get LeBron his 4th championship in the bubble, because that trade doesn't happen unless we add our pick to that to get the 4th pick for New Orleans. It does not happen unless we facilitate it. So yes, that man, look, when I look at Trey, I see someone who feels like he has to do everything. And at the end of the season, well, just before he got hurt, he would let DJ, take over in the fourth and let him do his thing. And DJ was like, it was actually working. Like, okay, fourth quarter Dejounte was real. On my
Fourth
on
quarter
my stream,
DeJounte.
yeah,
Haven't heard that.
fourth quarter Dejounte was real.
Didn't hear that when he was in San Antonio, just for the record.
Dude, it was real. So I don't know what kind of pixie dust that Quinn. He had his best statistical year with Coach Quinn this year. And I'm so glad that they didn't trade him at the deadline because his value is better. Like unless Donovan demands to be traded, or Garland demands to be traded because he don't want to play with Donovan because his role significantly went down.
Yeah.
But a lot of people really underestimate the playmaking of Trey Young. Like, if Trey Young had guys who could actually make baskets, like we got Clint Capella.
The Swiss Bank.
No, buttery bricks is what I call him because he just slips the ball out of his hand and he shoots a lot of bricks. And Trey Young would average 12 assists if this dude didn't kick away or drop or try to lay the ball up underneath the rim and hit the bottom of the rim. Like it's almost comical. And Trey
Larry
would
Wemby would
he
average.
averaged 10 assists. He would average like 12 or 13 assists if Clint could finish his
Wemby
back.
would have averaged 10 assists if the Spurs could make a three. I don't know how many times he kicked it out to the open guy because my man was getting double and triple at times, and it clang, ding dong, air ball.
Well, Trey Young shoots like 40% on spot up threes, but he rarely does it because,
He's not open.
again, he's ball dominant. But if you have a big man, he's never played with a big. First of all, he's never played with an inside presence that he could kick it down low. Okay, Trey Young literally wide open. That's easy money. The problem is Trey Young is always trying to shoot over 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" wings because you can't even put a point guard on Trey or he's gonna cook him. No one puts the 6'3" guy on Trey Young. Oh, we all forgot how he cooked Drew Holiday before he got his ankle stepped on by a referee. Like, there's a lot of Trey Young slander going out there. But again, if you get him an inside-outside threat like Wembanyama, that would be disgusting, actually. But that's why I like the prospect. I'm not saying that sorry anything like that. I know he can be a lob threat. I know he can be a possible elite rim protector and lob threat, and that's what Trey needs. Like Clint has lost a step, several steps, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, if you have a chance to get someone like Sar, who's an excellent rim protector, Jalen Johnson.
Not forget, we haven't mentioned Sar. At the back end, right before his season ended, I saw a lot of reports that he was starting to develop his ability to create his own shot, starting to hit some threes. So it looks like he might slowly be developing some sort of outside game, which if he becomes a 3-level player, then on offense, forget it.
Dude, I don't look. If he can sit in the corner once in a while, like if he go pick and roll, I know he can pick and roll and catch a lot. If he can pick and pop, where I've seen him shoot best is on the wing. Trey Young gets at the top of the key, pick and roll. He picks and pop, sitting at the wing. They're going to double team Trey Young. They always do. They got to try to get the ball out of his hands. If they can pick and pop, and this dude is sitting there wide open, he has a slow release, but he hits it on catch and shoot. I think they said 38%. Of course, that's over there. That's not NBA defenses. I understand. The closeout is going to be much faster. But this dude can shoot 35% on wide open threes. Oh my, oh my
I
goodness.
think we're getting trolled, Larry. Somebody just said the Spurs got Donovan Mitchell, which I seriously doubt that just happened.
No, 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 no. Hey, hold up. The Spurs got Donovan Mitchell. Nah, they're joking.
Yeah, they're joking. I would
Yeah.
not be excited about that.
Uh, I don't know what you guys would have to give up for Donovan. It would have to be a lot.
So
Uh,
speaking of giving up, let's actually
yeah.
make this happen
Okay.
because it's Trey Young has been crazy with Wemby. There's no doubt that it looks like he would love to play with him. Based on a lot of the stuff we've been talking about tonight, he's probably thinking, "Man, with that boy in the paint, I'm gonna be averaging 15 to 20 assists a game
Yeah, pretty
easily."
much.
So, what would you want as a Hawks fan for Trey Young? Because I got to think about what I would be willing to give up realistically.
Well,
Obviously,
of
I
course.
think it goes without saying the two picks in the pick swap, that whole package you guys got for Dejounte, you want that back. I think that's an
Yeah,
obvious.
they had to start with that. I mean,
Start with
that's
that.
the yeah, that's the appetizer. That's the
We have
cherry.
to do something about the salaries because you're sending 40 million our way, so you're going to need to take some players.
Um, and Devin Vassell would have to be in that deal also. He would have to be in. He would have to. Period. Point blank. You guys figure out what you're going to do at two guard. He would have to be in that deal. He would have to be. He would have to be. And hold up. Let me tell my
Salary
Hawks fan.
wise, he
I'm
would.
not trying to trade Trey Young, guys. I don't want to trade Trey Young. Ray Ray Young Jr., I don't want to trade your son, okay? He just asked me a question.
Yeah, this
If
is
it was
hypothetical
going to
tonight.
happen, he's just, hey,
Yeah,
this is just healthy conversation. All right. I don't need to get on the ban list. But if the I think if the Hawks draft Ricochet, I think they may pivot to trade Trey. Because Ricochet offensively, he grades out to be possibly, a lead dog if he actually, turns into, you know, a great two-way player that you can play at the three or the two. But if you pick Sard, you're gonna keep like look, it would have to be those picks you got for DeJounte, of course.
obviously.
I would
That's
need
exactly
another
what I was
future pick and Devin Vassell. Those are probably my sticking points. I may not take another pick if you guys want to, keep Vassell. Maybe I won't take the other pick, but I definitely need all those. But see, in my heart, I say, well, what did I do? I just traded Trey Young for DeJounte, basically. So it would have to be
Yeah.
another pick plus a. You see what I'm saying? Like
No, you're real.
we had to get the money straight, but Devin Vassell would have to be a player. He would have to. He would have to be.
Vassell's a former lottery pick, and I don't know if he's a number two option on a team. I think he would excel as a third option. I'm
Yeah,
not sold on him as a second option. If we were to orchestrate, and we're just for fun, Spurs fans, I'm not trying to get rid
yeah,
of
yeah.
Devin Vassell, but we need some salary matching. So Devin Vassell, somebody on the Spurs making 10 million now. Maybe they throw Zach Collins in there for salary matching. You guys waive him,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
The 25 and 27 pick would make sense to pick swap. I could see the Spurs offering the Bulls lottery protected pick. I think it's top eight protected, and maybe a future protected pick in like 2028 or nine.
Okay, now you're talking a future protected. Okay.
Not heavy protection, but in case the Spurs collapse, top six or eight protection, which we
Nah, if
should
you
be a
guys got
contending team by then, so it might not matter.
if you guys got Trey Young, you're not worried about the
No,
2029 pick
no.
at all. You're not. You're probably hosting banners if you get one other player, like literally.
I if he came here, and I still think there's a chance this could happen. I
Yeah.
think you guys might decide to build around whoever your first draft round pick is, and
Hmm.
I will say I did see something crazy from Pounding the Rock, which is a big Spurs website. They did
Okay.
an analysis on Zachary Rasache, and they mentioned, I think it was analytically speaking, something where they broke him down that he would grade out as a second round pick. So a lot of his
Oh wow.
it's high risk, high reward because he's only had, and I don't know a ton about him, admittedly, he's only had one good season in the French league, and you're putting everything on this season. Whereas before this, he wasn't apparently not a good 3-point shooter. He's
No,
got
he
a
wasn't.
I heard he's not a good off-the-ball shooter, or not good at, can't create his own shot. So
He can't
there's a
create
lot of
his own shot.
potential, but if that potential doesn't translate into the NBA game over the next few years, he could end up being also a huge bust. And I've kind of backed off on him. But originally, for me, my perfect draft was Versace at 4, Castle at 8. And now, the more I read about Versace, yeah, he did good in the playoffs, but and honestly, you could say this about anybody in the draft. Every player in this draft has something that's going to make you back up and say, my girlfriend loves UConn. She would love Castle to come to the Spurs. He's a big point guard. He played point in high school, but not in college. He can't shoot a three to save his life at
No,
this
he
moment.
can't.
And the Spurs have been drafting a lot of non-shooters the last few years, and the last thing we need around Wemby is a non-shooter.
You
So
got to have a shooter.
do you believe you can fix Castle's shot? And everybody in this draft, Dilly, I like Dilly, but he's 6'1", 165 pounds. I house him. I'm 6'4", 200. I mean, he'd run into me and fall over. So, I mean, there's so many question marks on this draft. But to come back around to Trey Young, if he came to the Spurs, I'd probably have that moment of shock of, wow, it happened. How much did we give up? And then I'd be all in. I'd be like, you know what? Wemmy's got his point guard. Let's go, baby. Let's get let's replace Champagny and let's try to win now. But what I don't want to do is what the Dallas Mavericks originally did with Luka, bringing in Kristaps Porzingis and trying to win immediately with Doncic, young guy. They're doing it right now with Kyrie. Doncic having some years under his belt. I like what OKC's done. You've mentioned the Thunder a lot. They've had some luck too, getting Chet Holmgren from was he drafted 2nd overall? Getting a big number 1 pick like that.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough. You don't want to rush the rebuild, but you don't want to keep being a losing team with your franchise guys. So both our teams are going to have an extremely interesting offseason, I think, and there's going to be a lot of content to cover with the teams.
Do you think we're going to do anything in the draft with each other?
Well, since you asked, I guess it would make sense because people are talking about this too.
Yeah.
Could the Hawks trade the 1st overall pick? And I keep seeing his name in the chat, so it would be just rude of me to not bring him up on camera. The one and only Baby Coyote with his legendary boop. Okay. All right, so this is obviously a big discussion.
Oh, we got Dominique right here.
Oh, I didn't even see him back there.
Yeah.
Bring him up. Put him on camera.
That's my Dominique Wilkins little egg. You got different players inside. So
I'll tell you, I was never a Hawks fan.
Luke's cousin.
But watching like Dominique dunk and back when the NBA had their stars in the slam dunk contest, Neek versus Jordan. I mean, those. I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I mean, they had that. I forgot his name. The little white dude that doesn't even play in the NBA that just signs a 10-day contract just so he can come in and win the slam dunk contest. I don't want to.
Oh, I know you're talking. Yeah.
McClung.
Yeah, McClung.
Yeah, I want to see. Listen. Sorry, I'm not the biggest fan of him. He's a great player, but I think LeBron started all this back in the day when he decided not to participate in the slam dunk contest, and more players are like, one of the best players not doing it. Why don't you do it? And just more and more and more.
It started with LeBron. It started with LeBron because even Kobe did it. Even Kobe went up there and won it.
Kobe, Vince Carter.
Yeah.
D. Brown.
Yeah, man. Like people actually took pride in being the best dunker back in the day.
Yeah.
And also, they won it when you couldn't miss. Not all these, you got 2 minutes to make a dunk or 3 minutes to make a dunk. No. You miss a dunk, you get like a 20. Yeah, you're done. So, yeah. So, a lot of guys want to. Now, I will say, Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine had the best dunk contest competition. Yes. Vince Carter is the best dunker. Vince Carter is the best dunker of all time, in my opinion. Even over my boy Dominique, Vince Carter is the best dunker. I will give it to him because he basically, elevated everybody's thought process of what you can do with dunk contests.
I was on the fence for Vince Carter as the best dunker of all time. And then when he jumped over that 7-foot dude during the Olympics and pretty much ended that dude's career,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, dude, you cleared a man in a regular season game. I mean, excuse me, in the Olympics. Yeah. That was 7 foot. Straight cleared him. Boom. Like, come on, man. He's the best dunker all time. Yeah. In game, competition. I just like, look, man, Vince got it. but I still think my boy Dominique is probably number 2. Him and
It's right there
Levine
with
and
Jordan.
Aaron Gordon. Yeah, they and
Jordan's
Jordan.
right there
You know what
too.
I'm saying? Like those guys, all awesome dunkers. All right, so the first overall pick. Hold up.
Woo!
Hmm.
Spurs had the 4th and 8th overall pick, and then obviously we've talked about it. Tons of draft capital moving forward.
Yes.
How bad do you think your team wants? Because I think Sar and Versace are both going to go in the top 3, barring something weird happening between now and June 26th. Do you really think Atlanta wants to bring one of them guys in, or are they okay saying, hey, let's get more capital? These are high risk, high reward type of players. Because Sar's not a guarantee.
No. Well, that's why people are like waffling back and forth. That's why the Hawks organization is waffling back and forth. They're doing their due diligence, looking at all of the talent. Um, I'm sure they're going to have private workouts with Sar, Zachariah, and Klingon, and a couple of others.
You
They
think there's
may,
a chance they would take Klingon? Think Klingon?
they may, if they want to go the route of, they may move back, and that's when you guys come into, you know, that's when it comes in. Like, hey, they work out all these guys, and they say, hey, we may want to pick the big man out of UConn if we want to get a better Clint Capella type of guy who's an excellent rim protector, rebounder.
IQ.
You don't need him to, yeah, high defensive IQ. You don't need him to be even try to be a lead dog, anything like that. He's going to fit right in with Trey. He's going to catch every lob thrown his way, and the paint is going to be defended. So when you really look at that, oh, it's storming outside. Sorry.
There's rumors the Wizards could take him at number 2, though. That's the thing. Like,
Nah, what I'm hearing
think
is
so?
the Wizards going to pick whoever we don't pick. So
Sar or
if we don't,
Risache?
if we pick Ricochet, then they're going to pick Sar. If we pick Sar,
You can pick
they're going
Risache.
to pick Ricochet. So that's why there's like rumors that we're going to they're trying to move Kuzma. We need a 3. DeAndre Hunter is in it. He'll be a good off the bench guy. And he actually excelled in that this season. Like he averaged like what was it like 17.7 off the bench.
I
But
thought, I
then
thought
when
he
you
was
put him
good this
back
year.
in but then when you put him in the starting lineup,
Wow.
it dropped all the way down to 14. So
Okay.
it's just like maybe we have him come off the bench. The offense could be him and Bogdanovich. You know what I'm saying? They got good chemistry with each other. You're starting Jalen Johnson now, so he can be your starting 4 or 3. If you go get Kyle Kuzma, okay, now you know this guy can get you 19 points a game. You draft and you just say, okay, if I'm not sure about either Sar or Rishache, was Zachariah his first name? I might just say I might not want to deal with it. I might just trade with the Spurs. Hey guys, give me that 4 and 8. Here's the number 1 pick. Who if we came to you guys and we said, okay, we might like Klingon more. So, hey Spurs, you want the number 1 pick? You want to match your you want to have the Eiffel Towers out there? You
Eiffel
know,
Towers is intriguing.
the Eiffel Towers. You can move Wemby to his natural position of power forward. Have Sar
But
be the
he,
guy.
he
Huh?
played better at much better at the 5 than the 4.
Okay.
That's the weird thing. They tried Zach Collins at the 5 and Wemby at the 4 to start the season, and of course Zach Collins is not very good, so that didn't help either.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
Wemby would stay at the 5 and Sar would play at the 4.
Well, either way, like defensively,
50
that would be
interchangeable.
defensively. Who's getting in the paint? How are they
Nobody.
getting in the paint?
You're not.
No, but see, that's why I was going to ask you. Like, if the Hawks are indecisive about who they want to get, and they actually want to get Klingon instead, then they may come to you guys and say, "Hey, what you want to do?" Now,
I got
I
it.
don't know. That
I
might be
got
a
it.
way they're trying to get one of the picks back. Also, I don't know, but you tell me, what would you do if the Hawks say, "Hey, we got the number 1 pick right here"?
Here's how it plays out. We trade the 4 and 8 for the first overall pick and draft Sar, and the Spurs have the Eiffel Towers. You guys get the 4 and 8, and you get Klingon at 4, and Castle drops to 8. Now you have a defensive specialist at guard. You trade off Dejounte, and you have 2 UConn players. Great IQ, great system, and then you build a championship. So, just messing around. That would be tough. Because if the Spurs draft 4 and 8, I don't think Versace is going to be there at 4. I don't think Castle's going to be there at 8. As much as Spurs fans say, man, it's great if that's how it fell, I don't see that happening. My brain says it's not. My heart says, man, that'd be great if they fall, but I don't think that's going to happen. Even with the question marks on both players, they're going to be gone before then.
Okay.
So we have to ask ourselves, as a Spurs fan, do I want to roll the dice on the Eiffel Towers? Does that work in today's NBA? Because it was working for Minnesota to a point, and then it just absolutely blew up against Dallas. It just did not work. I think Gobert may have missed a couple games, but the defensive player of the year, I'm still bitter about that.
No, that should have been Wemby, in my opinion. Either Wemby or AD were much better than Rudy Gobert this season. They only gave it. Look, I was talking to Hawks fans about this also because they were like, "No, Wemby wasn't." I was like, "Look, man, it was either Wemby or AD." Like, if you look at Rudy Gobert, they gave it to him because he was on the $1 defensive team.
Plus the players around him.
That's what it was, a team award. That's why he got it. 100%.
100,000,000%.
Team award. Because guess what? Wemby and AD can play against people on the perimeter. It's not just, oh, I'm stuck. And they can retreat and get the block if they try to dump it down off the pick and roll. You know, even if they're trailing, just with that wingspan, he gets there and gets blocks that I'm like, oh, what the? How did he get that? So, yeah, man, like, they just didn't want to get, but didn't he make first team all defense?
Well, yes, first rookie to ever do so.
Again, case closed, man. I don't even think Rudy made first team, did he?
He did.
Oh, he did? Okay. But still, he made first team. You just didn't want to give it to him as a rookie. That's all.
Wemby's stocks were like 1.5 more than Rudy's, and Wemby had no defensive help. It was still producing. So I want to get back to this trade, though, because I'm looking at it 2 ways that can happen, Larry. If the Spurs were to do this trade, and I think the Hawks could go either way. I don't think it affects you as much as it affects us because you have players you can trade, like Dejounte Murray, if you decide to move on from him. You have an established franchise player in Trey Young. And I'm looking at the starting lineup for the Spurs. If we trade the 4 and the 8, then we got Wemby and Sar, which, hey, I'm all in on the Eiffel Towers. I mean, come on now. But then Jeremy Sochan, Demisel, and for the time being, Trey Jones.
Yeah.
Our floor spacing could be awful. We'll be a defensive beast, probably the best, maybe instantly top 3 defense in the NBA, maybe even number 1 with those 2 out there. Certainly the best rim protection out of a starting lineup.
Yes.
If we keep the 4 and 8, likely they're drafting a wing and a point guard. Maybe. I see some Spurs fans wait for point guard in 2025. It's a better class. And like, you are expecting us to get a top 4 pick again? There's no guarantee. We could be picking 12th, 13th, or 14th. Who's going to be available at that point? So do you roll the dice with one guy, put all your eggs in his basket, or do you roll the dice with 2 possible starters? And that's going to be a very tough decision for the front office to make for the Spurs, and quite frankly, for the Hawks too. Do you think Sarr is the guy, or can you get the guy you want, dropping back and getting something in return?
Okay.
So you've got me in a room, and the Hawks call up and tell me, hey, TSR, first overall pick for 4 and 8. We have to pay the salary now for a first overall pick, which is going to be higher, but I would think the combined salaries of 4 and 8 are eventually going to be more. Do you? That's a $1 million question. I didn't think this would be this hard to answer, even though I've talked about it a little bit with my community.
Yeah.
Somebody else has mentioned in the chat too, the Spurs could draft point guard at 4, somebody like a Castle, and then get one of the wings that have moved up in the draft, like Tijan Salon.
Salon. Yeah.
Could the Spurs do Castle and Salon? Or Castle and
Realist,
or
shoot though.
Dillian,
he can play defense. Are you guys going to try to make him the next Kawhi or something?
Or
Guard wise?
Salon,
Yeah. No, no,
or
no. I'm
Castle.
talking about like Castle
I
because
think
he's
that's
a
where
good
Spurs
defender.
fans are equating it because Kawhi could not shoot
Yeah,
coming out of
and he can.
college,
Yeah.
and eventually, yes, he could. Castle seems to have a good work ethic. My only concern, and this is, I think, a legit concern,
Uh-huh.
is him putting it out there. I don't want to be drafted by a team that has an established point guard or something along those lines.
Oh.
So, one of two things, you can read this one of two ways. This guy's going to be a headache in the locker room. Or he's kind of trying to dictate which team he wants to be drafted. Maybe he's looking at a team like the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, what young guy that's passing the ball doesn't want to pass the ball to Victor Wembanyama? I mean, just
Yeah.
throw it
Yeah.
up there
True.
and let him
True.
do it. Let him do his thing.
True. True. Maybe he's trying to do what Tyrese Halliburton said. Tyrese Halliburton told the Hawks, "Do not draft me."
Yeah, Trey Young.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, you already got a point guard. You don't need
You know
me.
what? I had to step back for a second after I said that because I'm reading into that, I think, a little too much because I'm a New York Giants fan.
Okay.
Admittedly, Eli Manning,
Oh yeah, yeah,
goes to
yeah.
the
That whole
chat, is
situation. Yeah.
my
Yeah.
favorite Giant, about my favorite football player of all time. And
Okay.
Trey Knight, and I think it was coming more from his dad than him. And hey, this could be coming from Stefan Castle's dad, who, by the way, played with Tim Duncan in college, Wake Forest. So there's a little
Yeah. Wait for us.
connection
Okay.
there. Um, things worked out fine with Eli and the Giants. There was never a
Okay.
headache with Eli. He tended, doing a lot of community work, won 2 Super Bowls. It was just that one part of his career has a little stink on it, if you will. Otherwise, everything's perfect. And Cass could be in the same situation where he has this little blip where people are like, oh, he doesn't want to play for a team with a point guard. And then you never hear anything bad about him again for the rest of his NBA career. I think as much as my David Robinson, Tim Duncan heart would love to see 2 big men again,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's bringing in Sar delays the process even
Okay.
more because now we still have a question of Jeremy Sohan's still trying to develop a shot, and even Castle. Sohan's trying to work on his shot. Drafting Castle, he's going to work on his shot. Like Wellesley's on our bench, he needs to work on his shot. Malachi Brand was drafted as a shooter, he freaking needs to work on his shot. Everybody needs to work on their shot on this damn team for the most part.
Yeah.
I think I would keep the 4th and 8th pick, unless, so is that you, we trade something else, either the 4th or 8th overall, plus one of your first round picks. Probably not 25, but your 2027 first round pick and the 8th pick, and maybe a second round or 2 second rounders for the first overall pick. I don't know.
Yeah. It would have to. It would have to be that.
We'd have to give you a
Something
lot of
like that. I would
capital,
think. Yeah. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
expect us to be in winter by then. The Spurs might be willing to part with them. I think that's where I'd be okay with the first overall. Then we can still get our point guard or a wing or somebody. If I'm not a wing if you draft Star, but a point guard at 4 and 27 first round pick or 8th first round pick this year. I don't think Donovan's going to be down there at 8. I don't, unless there's somebody else you guys want to get.
Nah.
Maybe the pick
It
swap
won't be
too.
8.
Maybe that Bulls protected pick. I mean, the Spurs could give you a lot of capital if you guys decide, hey, we want some draft picks to work with.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Me personally, I'm the GM. I'm not. I'm not trading it. But if they were going to trade it, then that would be a very interesting thing to do. If they're not sold on Zachariah or on Sar,
Or
if
sorry.
they're not sold on those 2 guys, then you may get a call from us uh, on
Or you might
Spark
be calling
Sports.
the Wizards, or you might be calling
Yeah, on the
probably not the
Wiz. I
Rockets.
think they're going to call the Wizards first. They may just say,
So,
you know what, we don't want to make the deal. You guys make the pick first, and go from there. I don't know if they feel like anyone, our owner thinks on like marketing and stuff like that. So I don't know what their real thoughts are. But when I heard that they openly said, "Hey, we're worried about SAR's potential offensively. He may not be what we want offensively." They gave me pause. Me
I
personally,
did
I'm
not hear
drafting
that.
SAR.
That's a concern.
Yeah, yeah. And the Hawks actually said that, like the organization. So, and then after they said that, they went to France to watch Zachariah play. So when I when I look at things, I truly don't know what we're gonna do. I think we're making it too hard, personally.
That's
Um,
what we
I
do.
I feel I feel like the Hawks are definitely making it too hard. I think Sar is a clear cut pick to fit around Trey Young. I think it would be like out of anyone in this draft, he would fit the best. So it's a blessing. We've never had the number one pick ever in franchise history.
Never.
So never. This is the first time in the
I did
history
not know that.
in the history of this franchise. We've never had the number one pick.
A friend of mine's
We
a
are
Utah
also
Jazz
fun
fan.
fact.
They've never
Fun
had a
fact.
first overall pick, and he looks at me, and we've had three now, and I honestly did not realize that's such an anomaly in the NBA. But
It is.
it
It
is.
really is. To have like, and that's why when Orlando did it with Shaq and then got Penny the next year, it was just like, oh wow. So yeah, it's super rare to get the number one pick. I mean, I don't even think the Knicks has had it, but that one time
Patrick Ewing.
with Patrick Ewing. So yeah, it's really rare, man. You guys been blessed. Your organization has definitely been blessed because yeah, it's super rare, dude. Hell, Minnesota has had more. They had
Yeah, they've had a few.
Kevin Durant,
Kevin Garnett,
Garnett, and then Ant Man.
Zion.
So yeah,
Was Ant a number one pick overall too?
yeah, Ant was the number one pick.
So they had three.
Wiseman, who was the other?
Wasn't Zion number one overall? Zion
No,
Williamson?
no, but Zion went to Pelicans. I said Minnesota
Oh,
Timberwolves.
I'm sorry. Minnesota. I get
Yeah,
confused.
Kevin Garnett.
Garnett, Ant
Yeah,
Man.
that's it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I had blood drawn today, and they took like 5 vials out of me, so I'm a little out of it.
That's all right. But no, in my opinion, I think they need to get Sar. I think that he checks all the boxes on what the Atlanta Hawks need. We are the fourth shortest team in all of the NBA. We run out there. Our biggest guy is Clint Capella at 6'10". Our backup center is a Yeka Kongwu, who is 6'8", 6'9".
It's not, I think.
It maybe a lot of people have, hopes for him to develop, but we got to get rid of Clint Capella first. Some people saying Sar wouldn't even start over Yucca Kongwu. If that's the case, then don't even get out of the pick. If you don't
Wait,
feel,
people are
I feel
dropping.
like he would start, but there's a lot of consensus throughout the Hawks fandom and maybe in the Hawks front office thinking that he might not even start over Yucca Kongwu, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. Rich, don't ask me why they say that.
I is
Yeah,
this right? I'm hearing. A lot of people are starting to put in my chat. Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and Ant were all actually first overall picks for the Timberwolves. I can't remember when
Wiggins.
the
Oh
draft
my goodness, yes, Wiggins.
was he
The
first
Maple
overall?
Jordan was the Maple Jordan number one. I think he was number one.
I don't remember that.
The Maple Jordan. Oh wow,
Wow.
wow. Good call, man. Hold up, I got to give you a little
Somebody's
jump for
saying
that.
just Wiggins and Cat. I If
Oh
was
no,
Ant
hold
was
on,
Ant
hold on, hold
second
on.
overall?
Was Cat number one? So
Yeah,
KG. Oh
Garnett was
my
not a first
goodness,
overall.
these dudes had just bungled. Okay, so I don't feel as bad now. I don't feel as bad because Minnesota history is not very great. They had so many number one picks. Wow. Cavaliers had a lot too.
Oh shoot, Garnett was fifth overall.
Oh, my bad. So Cat was number one, Garnett was fifth.
Yeah,
My
because
apologies.
Garnett was a teenager. So that year
Okay,
was
okay,
Joe
okay, okay,
Smith. Who? Yeah, remember Joe Smith?
okay,
Antonio McDyess, Jerry Stackhouse,
okay,
Rasheed Wallace, and then
okay.
KG.
And then KG. Joe Smith
Joe
went
Smith.
before KG. Wow.
Golden State Warriors took Joe Smith. That didn't work out too good.
Wow. Yeah, that didn't work out too well.
No. That's actually
Okay, so I was wrong about that. Thank
that's
you,
not a very
Victor
good draft.
Wembanyama. I see
Outside of
you. I
Garnett,
see you.
that's not very good. Oh boy.
Yeah, Ant was number one, and Cat was number one.
Sometimes it's hard to
Andrew
tell.
Wiggins was number one. Wow, wow. Okay.
So I
Well,
see you
yeah,
guys are trading that first overall pick. I think you're going to take
yeah,
Sar.
yeah. I don't think so. I think if we do, it'll probably be to Washington.
Right.
You know,
And then whoever they
because
don't
they
take out
may.
of the top two.
Yeah, we can get Kuzma. I think if they want Kuzma, that's the way they can get Kuzma. Let Washington, because they want to get rid of Kuzma. So we need another. We need another like 19, legit 19 um, point score on the wing perfectly, instead of being in the backcourt where you can defend both of them the exact same way. You know what I'm saying? They need that floor to get spaced.
And I haven't said this much tonight, but
Yeah.
I've been putting Larry's channel in the chat. If you haven't subbed him up, sub him up. He's a great dude. It's my first time working with him, and we plan on
Oh,
going
thank
live
you,
for
man.
like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. We've been just chatting for an hour. We're going to go hit an hour and a half easily when it's done because it's just fun to talk basketball. And not only talk basketball, it gets somebody else's perspective on what's happening with their team because I'm a Spurs fan and I'm on the outside, not looking in, or I'm on the outside looking in what's happening with the Hawks. And it's great to get your perspective because we talk about the Hawks a lot on my channel because of the previous trade with Dejounte. But what's going to happen moving forward? Are we going to trade for Dejounte? Are we going to trade for Trey? Are we going to trade for the first overall pick? Honestly, knowing our Spurs, I don't think any of those are going to happen. I don't think we trade for Dejounte. I don't think we trade for Trey. I don't think we trade for the first overall pick. They're going to draft two
Wow.
guys. They're going to sign some bum I've never heard of to fill out the roster. And whatever the Spurs do, no primo number two. What I mean by
Yeah.
that What do you mean by that,
Uh,
Larry? Is if you don't know Joshua Primo, you should. He pulled his pee out and was in the news for a little while.
oh goodness, no,
Yeah.
we
Oh, you
didn't.
don't?
We didn't
Okay.
hear
So,
anything about that.
all right. Let me tell you a little quick about him. So the Spurs drafted him 12th overall in 2021, and he was projected to go around 25.
Okay.
So I'm not a huge college basketball fan. So when I research players, I research the players a few spots above my team and a few below, so I can get an idea of who we might draft. When that dude was drafted, my initial reaction, like many Spurs fans, was who? And he pretty much sucked when he was with us. And in year number two, was accused of sexual misconduct by Spurs employees, I think multiple females,
Oh
and
my
was let go
goodness.
by the team.
Oh, I think I remember that story now. Okay.
So I'm not here to critique what happened off the court.
Okay.
What you never want to have happen as a sports fan of any team is they announce a player's name and you don't know who the hell it is, or maybe you barely know who it is. Like if
Yeah.
first overall pick, Sar, Risache, and then if they throw out a name there that's projected to go 15th, you're gonna be flipping out. You're gonna be like, what? You don't want to see a reach. As a
Yeah.
Giants fan, Daniel Jones is a great example of reaching. That guy was not projected to go 6th overall. I'm not bitter about that draft pick at all anymore.
No, no,
6 years later, 7 years, whatever the hell it is, still thrilled he's with the team. You don't want to reach.
no, you do
And
not.
that's what I don't want my team to do at the 4th and 8th pick. If they draft somebody that's projected to go 15th and they're rolling the dice on the 4th overall pick, we can't do that with Wemby. You shouldn't be doing that ever. Even if the
Yeah.
player fits a need, you're taking a huge risk on a guy that's, yes, you have your own analytical ratings, et cetera, et cetera. But if the general consensus among all NBA scouts and all the experts is these guys are going to go 20 to 30, and you're making a lottery pick, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I saw that
Yes.
failure because
Yes.
he was awful. He showed a couple flashes, no pun intended. Sorry, bad choice of words.
Yeah.
Couple moments
Yeah.
of being
Moments.
a capable basketball player, but overall he was a very inefficient scorer. And then I think he was with the Clippers with the G League this year. He played like 2 games, maybe 10 minutes, and they released him, done with him. Like he's done. There's just I don't want that for the Spurs, and that's my biggest fear is we do something at 4-8 that's unexpected, and that would crush me. Or the guy I want, admittedly, they had the draft 2 years ago. Jeremy Sohan was taken number 9 by the Spurs, and for
Okay.
whatever reason, Jalen Duren was still sitting there. I was shocked Duren was still available in that draft. He was picked, I think, 11th by the Pistons.
Yes, he
I was like,
was. He
when he was
was.
sitting there at 9, I'm like, we're taking Duren. All right, we'll move on from Jakob Poeltl halfway through the season, which we did anyways. Let's take
Hold on.
Duren.
What year was that?
2022.
Okay. 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 Yeah. 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 All right.
And we had 3 draft picks in the first round, and Duren was available at 9. I was like, let's do it. He's been good in Detroit, but it's hard to rate players
In Detroit
against
with all that
Detroit.
dysfunction. Yeah. Yeah, Detroit got a lot of talent, but it's just so dysfunctional out there.
They are. And not one, but 2 years in a row, the worst team in the NBA fell to the
Yeah,
worst pick they can get.
yeah. Five.
I
Was
don't
it
know.
2 or 3 years straight?
2 years. I don't think
Okay,
it's
two
three.
years
It's
straight.
three. Oh my god. That being
No, I
said,
think
I
it's
want to.
3 years because I got a cousin in Detroit. He was like, "How do we get the fifth pick 3 years in a row?"
Oh my god, did
I
they get
was
the
like,
fifth pick 3 years in a row?
"Yeah." I was like, "Wow, that's unfortunate." Cause
I went on a
but
tangent
woohoo!
there. I don't know where I was going with there. I just don't reach on a pick. That being said, we haven't really answered any of your questions, so we definitely
No,
want
we
to
have
get
not.
some in. I don't know if you saw him sneak in. We do have a new mascot on the channel. I was at a
Mm-mm.
comic show. I got
Mikey.
a guy I buy a lot of stuff from. I had given him all the money I had for what I was buying that day, and I saw this and I was like, "Oh, how much are these?" He's like $5, and I'm like, "Can you put them in the back until I visit your show again?" And he's like, "Dude, just take it." So Mikey is now part of the family. So if I didn't have enough on the couch with me already, with Miss TSR joining soon, the whole cast is here tonight. So they're good dudes. Grogu rocking the headband because he loves Derek White, Baby Coyote, the Spurs mascot, and now Mikey because Ninja Turtle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for everyone who tuned in to the show. My name is Larry, one half of the Dixon Way. My beautiful wife Sean is the other half. We do live commentary for all Atlanta sports. So that's the Braves, the Hawks, the Falcons, the Bulldogs. Even my wife, Gators. We're house about it. As you can see, we love college football. You see the Florida Gator and the Georgia Bulldog right there. Yeah. So and it's been excellent talking with you. The questions, everyone in the chat, we were not ignoring you guys. We were just trying to get through the topics. Me and Rich want to get through a couple of topics. Now we can read your questions off. So
If anybody
uh
can't tell, I'm a Spurs fan, but you probably may have figured that out the moment you saw me. And I
yeah.
am wearing my Johnson. Here, you can all see my
Hey,
Johnson right here.
there you
Guys,
go.
always being traded.
Hey. So uh Q&A. I guess you go first. I'll go. I got a lot of comments, but
Yeah, I got comments. I actually don't have any questions yet, but there is a delay with what we're speaking, what we're saying, and they
yeah,
get
yeah,
in the
yeah.
chat. So
So
it might be fair as we go back and forth, kind of. I do want to point somebody out in the chat.
okay.
She is. Oh, wrong one. She's in France, so it is
Okay.
like 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning. So
Oh my
Isabel is
goodness.
one. We have quite a few viewers here on TSR Sports that are watching from France, and you guys, any of you, wherever you are, whether you're in France, West Coast, East Coast, I appreciate you all hanging out with us tonight. I haven't done a live stream in a long time, and this is the first live stream collaboration I've done with somebody in it might be like 18 months, might be 24 months. So take that as a compliment, by the way. That's a
I'm
huge
awesome.
compliment.
Awesome, man.
And
Thank you.
it's definitely has me going, you know what? I miss doing this. So more to come.
Hey, think we got a new family member. What's your name? Your name, cousin Pop Drew. How you doing, man? Welcome to the Dixon Way family. Get on the train. All aboard. Yay! Get on the train.
Hmm. Larry, I'll let you take this one. Why are the Hawks wasting on Kungu?
Oh, why are we wasting the Congo? Because we have Clint Capella and our coach, plays politics. Whoever makes the most money plays. I guess. I don't know, man. I want to
That's a
see what
real
he can
thing.
do, but I don't know if he's actually better than Clint Capella. There's a faction of people that feel like Yucca Congo is being held back because our coach won't play him over Clint Capella. They split minutes right down the middle,
24
right
24 last week.
down the middle. So if you're doing that, Clint Capella rebounds, doesn't score as good as the Yucca Congo. The Yucca Congo doesn't rebound as good as him, but he can get on the break. He can run. He can hustle. He's better on switches when they try to isolate Clint or the center out there. He can move his feet. But he's undersized also, so he gets bullied by small forwards sometimes. So there's pros and cons. He plays well against Giannis for some reason, so that gives people hope. Hey, he could be our, real center. I personally think that Yucca Congo should be the four, but he hasn't developed that 3-point shot to be efficient enough to have him out there. In today's game, you can't have two guys out there that cannot
No.
shoot. You can't. So that's why Yucca Congo is still the backup center. But last year he showed steps to developing that corner shot. If he comes back this season with a better shot, they may even, they may if they got to move. If they pick Sar, they have to move Clint. Okay, so they're gonna move Clint.
Yeah.
Yucca Congo is definitely on a good contract, and yeah, I mean he could. There's a lot of people think he may start and Sar will come off the bench. I don't think that. I think they may
Oh,
have a big lineup. It all depends on if a Yucca Congo develop that 3-point shot. If he has that 3-point shot and can spread the floor, that means Sar can be the main pick and roll option. That means we have a option of Yucca Congo to be able to shoot the corner three. We have Jalen Johnson as slasher, also a very underrated playmaker. Also, at a small forward position, he's an excellent rebounder. So balance wise, it could work, but the key is a Yucca unlocking his 3-point corner shot. Just for Quinn. Quinn wants that, and if he can't do that, then they just use like Yucca, just like Clint Capella, and they're not really using. I mean, hey, call Coach Quinn. You know what I'm
there
saying?
you
The
go.
genius, the genius.
Listen,
Because
you
I
said
don't know
something.
why.
You said something that's very important, and some Spurs fans give me a little pushback, which I always appreciate pushback. But there's also
Yeah,
the business decision. I think teams are going to give players more of an opportunity if you're paying that money. Spurs fans keep asking, why do we keep playing Zach Collins so much? Why are we playing Sandro Mamakeliashvili or Dominic Barlow? Two guys in minimal contracts, one guy who just signed for $17.5 million a year for the next 2 years.
yep,
They invested in him. They're going to play him, especially when my team, you're clearly not making the playoffs. You're going to give the players, except for Devontae Graham, for whatever reason, he was in the doghouse all year. But generally speaking, the guys that have the bigger contracts are going to have the playing time. And I definitely want to address something that somebody just asked because this is one that I've been gotten a lot on this channel. What is the dream scenario at picks 4 and 8? This is obviously related to the Spurs, and I've talked about this. We need an upgrade at wing and point guard. I like Julian Champagnie, not a starter. Trey Jones is an awesome backup and improved his 3-point shooting to the point where after the All-Star break, he was shooting, I think, 42% post All-Star break. So he's really improved that part of his game, but he's still undersized, which you can relate to an undersized guard, but he's not the creator that Trey Young is. So they're night and day. The Treys are not similar in that regards. That being said, if Reese Shea dropped to 4, which there's still a possibility he could, we don't know what teams are going to do. If he dropped to 4 and he's projected to be a top 2 pick, if he somehow falls to 4, and it might be risky because of the outside shot, but we need more. We definitely need more defense. Wemby's the only guy really playing defense on the court for us 99% of the time. I would like Castle at 8. And I get some slack for this, Larry, because a lot of Spurs fans joke on my channel, oh, that'll help your personal life too. So that makes sense because my girlfriend's a UConn fan. So if Castle gets drafted by the Spurs, now she's going to go. Now she already told me if the Spurs draft Castle, I'm buying a Castle jersey the next day. She's already set in stone.
I bet she would.
I know she would. She went to UConn. She's a UConn alumni. She loves UConn men's team and women's team. Her mom's a big UConn fan. So, I mean, it would make sense. But I wouldn't want him just for that reason.
You should get it. Y'all should draft them. I definitely know she'll be on the show then. She'll definitely be on the show then.
Well, she'd be watching every game probably. She'd find a way to watch every game.
Exactly.
So
win-win.
Castle's projected. I mean, he's been projected as high as a top 3 pick. So if he fell to 8, I think that would be any combination of a wing and point guard or a combo guard, because I have some fans. I did a poll today. Actually, I'm going to pull that up. Give you an idea what the Spurs community that we have here over TSR Sports is looking for in a draft. I asked simply, if we draft a guard, which guard do you want? And I dropped 4 names.
Okay.
And we have 1,300 votes.
All right.
At this moment in time, Stephon Castle has 51% of the vote.
Okay.
Rob Dillingham has 21%.
Okay.
Nikola Topic 16%, and Reed Shepherd 11%. Those are the 4 I put up. And out of those 4, I think my order is probably Castle, Dilly, maybe Shep, and then Topic, because Topic scares me with 2 knee injuries this year. That's just
yeah. I would go in that order also.
You would?
If I was you guys, I would go in that order also.
So a combination of one of those guards that I just mentioned, and then a wing For Sachet, maybe Salon would be fine. Some people want Ron Holland. Just I want to draft at least one guy that we should be able to put in the starting lineup day one. If both
With you
guys are
guys,
and Wemby started, but Wemby, David Robinson, and Duncan started day one, and that worked out, right? Not exception
what
to
are
the
you
rule.
guys gonna do with Jeremy? Like, he's your point forward. Like,
No.
uh,
So
okay, well, let me know. You let me know what you guys gonna do with
this is
Jeremy.
a little messy
Because someone in
situation.
my chat just asked.
All right, and I got Jeremy Sohan. His first year played predominantly the four. Keldon Johnson started next to him as the three.
Yes.
Come this year, the Spurs said, "Hey, let's have our best lineup available, so that way we're going to roll with Zach Collins at the five, Wemby at the four,
Mm-hmm.
Keldon at the three, Devin at the two, Jeremy Sohan at the one." They decided they're going to try to make Jeremy Sohan a point forward, point guard hybrid, and it did help him learn playmaking, learn things that a point guard would do. That being said, watching it was a freaking nightmare. It was bad. It was certainly not unleashing the full potential of Wemby. Zach Collins and Wemby on the floor was just terrible. I didn't
Yeah.
like watching it. It just there were a lot of issues with that lineup. Jeremy Sohan is in a tough spot because he was shooting the three well to start the season, which we need from him. And to his credit, he's willing to do whatever it takes to get better. He's shooting one-handed free throws. When he was shooting two-handed free throws, I think he shot like 68%. As a one-handed free throw shooter, I think he's around 79. Hey, it's
Oh wow.
working, whatever. So he's willing to put in the time.
Okay.
He's usually a good defender, but his three-point shooting fell off a cliff last year. The first 2 months he was shooting, I think, around 38%. We're all like, wow, Sohan's hitting the three now. He's not going to be a liability out there. And then he had like 2 months straight where he was like at 15%. And
Oh
it
my
was just
goodness.
awful to the point where I kid you not. Yes, so I think I clipped this on a short on my channel once. You saw three defenders sag onto Wemby. One defender kind of look at Sohan and not even give him the time of day, and Jeremy just standing there wide open. And that's what teams are going to do. If you want to beat the Spurs, let him shoot. And I saw it multiple times in the second half of the
Shoot it.
season when he was chucking air balls left and right with threes. And then the next night, the dude would come out and score 30 or grab almost 20 rebounds. And you're like, what the hell? Like, I don't know what I have with you. One night you look like you don't know how to play basketball, and the next night you look like you could be an all-star. And this is the
Wow.
San Antonio Spurs the last 5 seasons.
Wow.
Consistently inconsistent, except for Wemby, who, even on his bad offensive nights, is showing defensively. The rest of the team, Dan Vassell come out one night, 35 points, goes perfect in the third quarter, 9 of 9. I remember a game he had like 23 points in the third quarter, 9 of 9, was just on fire. Next night, 8 points. Like, there's no consistency on this team whatsoever, and Sohan's a big part of that. There was a stretch there we had like 1 point, 30, 1 point. What kind of production is that?
Yeah.
It drove me crazy.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah.
So
I was just wondering. Well, someone in the chat uh was asking about Jeremy, so I was like, hey, let's ask him.
no, I appreciate it. He is one of the many question marks we have on this team. Keldon Johnson, a player I like. He scored 22 points a game the previous season as the
Yeah.
guy.
Yes.
This year, second half of the season, demoted to the bench. Benched at one point in the game after playing maybe 4 minutes after running into a defender on a screen and then just running into the guy shooting a three. And Pop said, that's enough. There's just players on this team I like, but then I watch them play sometimes and I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't going to do it anymore. Like, do we need to move on from you? Sohan too early to say move on. He's young, only in year number 3, going into year number 3. If he does not show improvement in year 3, then the Spurs seriously have to look at moving on from him before year 4. I hope he works out.
Okay. Yeah, we have players like that used to play. Like AJ Griffin was in the
Hunter sounds like one.
Yeah, Hunter, Clint Capella. Like Hunter, we like Hunter. Hunter excels on the bench. I just think that he's a quality role player that'll be good on someone's team. He's on a good contract. We're just asking too much of him. And I think that the New York Knicks did well by just saying, I don't care if you're the number 3 pick. Guess what, buddy? We're trading you for OG Anunoby. And you can go back home and hopefully that helps your career. But you weren't the guy that we thought you was. And the problem with is there were several times that we could have moved off DeAndre Hunter and John Collins at the same time to pick up better assets right after. See, I think that was the problem with the Hawks. They made it to Eastern Conference Finals and they thought they were set, you
Yep.
know, instead of using the young assets to actually put a better team around Trey. You just said, okay, we're fine. And everyone got better around you. And that's the big key. So when I look at the Hawks, that's why I have a lot of optimism coming into this offseason.
That's
And it
good.
really comes from getting the number 1 pick. We can really shape our
Yeah.
team. It's like getting another free agent that we just didn't think we were going to get. You know, you can really shape your team into being, a quality team. Like, are we going to be a top 4 team? No, no, no. But we're not going to be in a play in. And um, you have, depending on how far you get, you have room to grow. Unlike, prior to receiving that blessing of the number 1 pick, you were going to make one move with Dejounte and that was it. You basically getting a free player, a quality player. Now, he may be young, but I mean, if you get sorry, he's going to be the best big man on this team by far,
No doubt.
by far. So even if his floor is rookie JJJ, the JJJ didn't develop his jumper till 3 years later. But if you could be that defensive anchor on a team that sorely needs it, you know, we can score with the best of them. A top 5 scoring team with Trey Young. Like, that's the thing. You go up and down our roster, uh, even prior to DeJounte getting here, we were a top 3 offensive team in the league. Our thing is defense. So if I can get someone who projects floor to be JJJ, why wouldn't I do that? I just think a lot of Hawks fans and the organization is making it harder than what it should be. You know. No, I have not Kool-Aid. Thank you guys. I see you guys in the chat. You know what I'm saying? But we just having a conversation though. It's been, I mean, hell, we've been almost 2 hours, man. And
I
me
want to
and
throw
Rich
something
is
at
just
you
going.
that we didn't mention tonight because you were talking about trading for Devin Vassell if we had a big trade.
Yeah,
He's had 2 season-ending injuries in a row, and I forgot about that. As somebody in my chat just mentioned, I was like, "That's right, 2 season-ending injuries in a row." He's got a big contract. As a Spurs fan, that's very alarming. Kelman is on a team-friendly contract as it decreases over the life of the contract, which is very rare
yes,
in this day and age. And as far as Sochan, it looks like a few people are defending a little bit about his age. My big concern with Sochan is I swear I see his shooting mechanics change sometimes in the same game. Like his shot just it's not at least Devin there's form there that with Jeremy I swear like it sometimes changes week to week, and that's my concern is if he misses a shot, is he trying to adjust instead of just going what's natural and now trying to put too much on it, take some off. His mechanics definitely seem wonky to say the least, but he is young. Seems like he has a good work ethic. It's just I don't know. I mean, it seemed like he was starting to put things together a little bit with Wemby at the end of the year, as was Devin Vassell, and then they both got injured. Now they're both coming
yeah,
off injuries too. Is that going to affect them going to next season? Probably not. The Spurs, both teams have a lot of question marks that we couldn't answer tonight because really
no,
we're not going to know until draft night. Everything's going to be a giant question mark until June 26th and 27th. If you're not aware, the draft is 2 nights this year.
yes, it's
Thanks
2 nights.
NBA. First round Wednesday night, second round Thursday night, and
Yeah, I'm be covering the first night since I'm heavy into the Braves this season. I'll cover the first night, but I don't want to miss like a whole series, especially for the second. I don't even think we have any second round picks. So yeah, I'm just covering the first night. So yeah, I can't wait for the draft, man. I can't wait for the draft. I can't wait for these off-season moves. Uh, yeah, man, I'm really excited. But
It has been almost 2 hours, and we
yeah, it
plan to
has
go
been
for an
almost
hour
two
less. So
hours.
he's got a wife and a child. I've
Yes.
got 3 kids of my own. So,
Hey,
you know,
well, thank you for coming on the show, man. Thank you for
likewise.
doing this collaboration. I appreciate you, Rich, and hopefully we'll do this again. Um,
If there's a big
maybe
trade
after the
between
draft.
one of our teams, we're going to have to do something together at some point.
Oh, of
Nothing
course. If we
else.
make a trade with each
Yeah.
other, of course. I'm hitting you up right on Twitter. Hey, bro, let's go. Let's go.
We
Let's
got
go.
to talk about this now.
It'd be flash. We just put one up.
I'm sorry, we
Hey,
got to get on
guys, we put up a show real
the
quick.
X or whatever the heck their
Yeah,
website is these days.
like real quick. We'll definitely put that up really quick. But man, this has been an excellent show.
Has been a
Thank
lot of fun. Thank you.
thank you for hitting me up, and I'm glad that you was willing to do it. Thank all of you guys who watch on your stream, on my stream.
Likewise.
Guys, I put the link in the chat for Rich's stream.
Larry.
Does excellent content over there. You know what I'm saying? And I just so happened that to meet him. I just did a raid. I was just randomly raiding,
Yeah.
and I met Rich. You know what I'm saying? And he raided me back, and we've been cool ever since.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, like, Tom Grossi rated us. Me and my wife were sitting here doing, and Tom Grossi rated us, and I didn't even know what a raid was. You know what I'm saying? So I just see the dang chat going crazy, and we've been getting like spam chats before, so I thought that's what it was. So I was ignoring it. I was like, Tom Grossi raid. I was like, what the 200 people in the chat? Oh my goodness! So I was just
Wow.
like, wow. So we went over,
Right.
thanked him. I was like, you know what? And that was like when we started, like what was that, 2022? It Oh no, 23 season. We started 2023. I was like, okay. So as soon as we, get enough people to watch, we're just gonna do random raids also. Just to pay it forward, man. Play it forward and bring that good karma. Because you never know who you'll meet. So I'm
That's right.
cool with Rich now. He's like, if I'm not streaming, I'll watch Rich. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm interested in seeing when we're gonna do anyway. So if I don't have a game, I'll watch in the game. I'm like, oh, here we go, and put on Rich and pop in there.
Likewise, when you're live, and if I'm, I got some free time, like, let's say Larry, see what's going on.
Yeah.
Talk a little basketball in chat. But
Yeah.
let's wrap it up, my friends. I'm going to close with my normal close if I can. What you going to do when the Dixon Way and TSR Sports run wild on you? Go Spurs, go!
All right, guys.